What's up guys, it's Manga Time once again, and I'm here today to bring you my Millennium Blood War Predictions Part 3. Just to let you know, this is going to be a really long video, so I'm going to experiment with some kind of navigation annotations. So if it works, you can just click on them and they'll take you to a certain part of the video, because I think it's going to be pretty long. So, yeah, let's not waste any time, let's just dive straight in. So I'm going to start by trying to predict some of the battle matchups that are going to come up soon. As always, leave some comments below. Let me know what you think is going to happen in respect to each of the things I talk about. Don't forget to subscribe to my videos, and always give the video a thumbs up because it really helps to support them. So anyway, yeah, as we know, Bleach 546 left off with Yharvark and Hashvolf and Uryu, along with basically the entire Schattenbeireich invading Soul Society. They swap places with it. We're still not entirely sure what happened there. I'm going to go into that a bit later. But yeah, shit's going down. So with 547, we might not go straight into the fighting. That's going to come later in this video as well. However, in terms of fighting, these are some matchups I think are probably likely to happen. Ichigo versus Uryu. That's a given. How many times they'll fight, I don't know. That's hard to say. Ichigo is probably going to arrive from the Royal Realm at some point in some dramatic entrance, but the problem is, now that the Schattenbeireich has kind of taken the Seireite's place, can the people who are outside the Seireite still get back in? Something we don't really understand yet. But Ichigo versus Uryu is bound to happen. The outcome is very hard to say. We don't know how powerful either Ichigo or Uryu are at this point in time. Obviously, Uryu has apparently been bestowed the Shrift by Yharvark, so yeah, it's hard to say. It's really hard to call. Oh god, it's going to be epic though. I'm pretty sure, because no doubt it will possibly be the first time Ichigo uses his dual blades, and maybe Uryu have a Volston dish, but it's really hard to call. To be honest, that fight is really hard to call, purely because we don't know enough about their level of power at the moment. So, I mean, it's not going to be a one-sided thing. I mean, Uryu's not going to one-shot Ichigo, Ichigo's not going to one-shot Uryu. If either of those two things happen, it's more likely that Uryu will one-shot Ichigo, but I don't think it's going to happen. Ichigo seems to have... He's kind of almost reached the end of his development, I think, Ichigo. Obviously, it's time with the end of the series, but he knows about his mum, he knows about his dad, he knows about his past, he knows where he gets his hollow powers from, he knows where his Quincy powers come from, he's got his true Zanpakuto, let's go. You know, where else can he go? So, it would be absolutely pointless for Uryu to just decimate him in one hit, because that would imply Ichigo still has somewhere left to go. Of course, we don't know Ichigo's new Bankai yet. Whether he'll use that against Uryu, I don't know, it's going to be difficult to call. I think possibly Ichigo's not going to be the first person Uryu fights. So, yeah, I'll get into that in a second. So, the next match I want to talk about is, I think it would be interesting if Ryuken versus Uryu happened. Because obviously Ryuken's not had a proper fight yet, and we still don't know the circumstances under which Uryu left to join the Vandenreich. You know? Uryu, maybe he had a little chat with Ryuken beforehand, because we are presuming that Uryu is not on the bad guy's side. Because obviously Yharvark and Hashvolf don't trust him at all, since they've basically created this descent in the Sturmritter so that Uryu can't move. So, yeah, I mean, Ryuken and Uryu might fight, if they do, purely on like a facade. So, like, just to keep Yharvark and Hashvolf happy and out of the know. Possibly could happen. If Ryuken doesn't know that Uryu, well, if he's bound to know he's left by now. But if they didn't speak before he went, it's possible that Uryu and him might fight properly. It's going to be hard because you would presume that Ryuken hates Yharvark and the Quincy a lot because of what happened to Katagiri. Remember, Yharvark killed her with Auschwallen. So he's obviously going to be. I mean, maybe he's not told Uryu what happened to Katagiri. But Uryu's a smart guy. You think he'd eventually work it out because he knows about the Auschwallen. Yharvark's told him about all of that. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. That I think that's a fight that could happen. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Ichigo versus Hashvolf. I think it's guaranteed to happen. Hashvolf is the typical dragon character. I mean, he's like the right-hand man. Ichigo's fought them all so far like that. Obviously, Hashvolf broke his Bankai, and that's kind of you know, that's been the catalyst for Ichigo's development in this arc so far, pretty much. On the Shinigami side of things, anyway. So yeah, I think Hashvolth versus Ichigo is bound to happen. It's going to be a big, long, cool fight, just flashy and stylish, where we learn more about Hashvolth's character. But to be honest, this arc has not really followed the formula of the other two big arcs, Soul Society and Arrancar. Arrancar, and Soul Society, you had someone being kidnapped, and you had two major forces on either side defending her, in sort of that way. So, but this hasn't really happened, so Hashvolth's relationship with Ichigo is unclear. You could say that it looks like Hashvolth is the one who brought Uryu to the Vandenreich, but again, it is unclear. And now it's slightly different in that Ichigo's friend is on the main opposite side as an enemy at the moment. So, I mean, like, Uryu could become the second of the two major enemies for Ichigo to face. However, I think there are other candidates as well. So, Ichigo versus Hashvolth, I think is guaranteed to happen. As and when, though, is difficult to say. I mean, like I said, the circumstances are pretty much completely different, actually, to how the arcs beforehand have been. The next one, Ichigo versus Yhwach, guaranteed, 100%, probably going to happen. Unless Kubo really throws a curveball and changes up who the main bad guy is. They've already clashed once. Yhwach basically totaled him. But, yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it again. It's being built up as it's going to happen. But you never know. I mean, Kubo may throw a Kubo curveball. Yhwach might end up being not the final villain. But I would like to see it happen because I like seeing Yhwach fight. He's awesome and he looks fantastic on the page when he fights. He's so animated. So I'd love to see him fight Ichigo. Plus Ichigo, in fact, thinking about it, Ichigo will fight him because he has reason to. Yhwach is the reason Masaki is dead. So with that knowledge, I think Ichigo will definitely try and fight him. Up next, Shunsui and Ukitake, all one of the two, most likely to be Shunsui if it's only one of them fighting Yhwach. I think they'd only have a chance if it was both of them. You could see a really epic fight out of that though, if Yhwach uses Zanken no Tachi, and then Shunsui and Ukitake Bankai, that'd be sweet. And that'd be really cool. If anyone's going to get revenge for Old Man Yama, it's going to be those two. So, yeah, I think... I think those two could fight him if Shunsui and Ukitake aren't too busy with Sturmritter. We already know that Shunsui has a bit of a grudge match with Colonel Sanders Quincy, which still doesn't have a name. But, yeah. And apparently everyone thinks Ukitake was fighting Askin Naklavar, Sturmritter D, in the original invasion. I don't think there's anywhere near enough proof to say that, but if it was, then they might fight again. It would kind of make sense if the Sturmritter really are ranked on power as well as abilities. Because obviously Naklavar was D, Colonel Sanders is probably going to be C. I'm just going to throw it out there, he's probably going to be C. If he's not, I hate my words. But yeah, so I think those two could fight. That would be so awesome. It would be like seeing their fight with Yama in the Soul Society arc, but properly. And it's not Yama, it's actually Yhwach. But it would still work because he was using Zanken no Tachi. So that'd be awesome. Awesome, I'd love to see that. Okay, so now we move away from Yhwach and Hashvolth and all that sort of thing. We get into some of the kind of Sturmritter battles now. And my first one, I think it would be absolutely criminal if Rose doesn't fight Basby at any point. Even if their fight isn't very long, it has to happen, because according to the dagger, Basby did in fact kill Kira. Well, we knew it was Basby anyway, but we didn't know Kira was dead. Apparently Kira is dead, therefore Rose has to fight Basby. However, if Kubo does the whole... same matchups in the original invasion, then Rose will fight Nanana and Najakoop. Maybe he'll kill Nanana and move on to Basby, because I think probably... I don't know why I think this. Basby's possibly stronger than Nanana. So I don't know. I want him to fight Rose, but I know there's someone else that everyone wants Baz to fight, which is another of my predictions. So yeah, if he doesn't fight Rose, I want Basby to fight Grimjo. Or even Grimjo could come in, because you would presume that the people in Huecamundo are probably going to get there a bit later. Because you have to remember that if my theory, and a lot of other people's theory, about the people on the outside of Seirete not being able to get back in just yet is true, then the only captains left in Seirete at the moment to defend it are Rose, Shinji, Toshiro, Miuri, Ukitake, I think. Is that it? 5? Is that it? Byakuya is in the Royal Realm. Kenpachi is in Muken, so whether he could get there or not is a bit of a wild card. We don't know if that's separated from the Seirete or not, or if it is literally just underground. in which case the Shakon Maku encompasses all of that. So Kenpachi's there as well. Unohana as well, if she's still alive. We'll get into that in a minute. So in that case, there would be about 8 of them still around. That wouldn't be too bad. I think Kensei and Soifon and Komamura are in the Rukon outskirts, so they're not in Soul Society at the moment. Obviously, Shinsui's in the human world. So yeah, it's really interesting. So Rose is there, so he could fight Baz in the first round of the war, because this war's not going to be fast. You know, I know Kubo says we're entering the final part, but it's going to take a while, guys. It's going to take a while. We've got so much to get through, as evidenced by the length of this video. So, yeah, Rose versus Baz could happen. When the Awaken Mundo unit eventually arrive, Grimjo versus Baz, the only reason that would ever happen is if Kubo plays on their similar personalities, which he hasn't really done in this arc yet, which I'm thankful for, because it made the battles far too predictable in Fate Karakura. So yeah, and then of course, if he does... Now, here's the thing, right? If Kubo uses the same matchups that were in the original invasion, then the captains are going to get their asses kicked. Toshiro is in no fit state to face Kang-Do. He's just not. Kang has his Bankai, Daigo, and Hyorin-Maru. Toshiro's back learning basic techniques, and it's been about maybe a day at best since we saw Toshiro training. Kang would absolutely wipe the floor with him, and I think that's the same with Soifon and Komamura as well. They basically, what would happen to them is what happened to Byakuya. They would get stomped. Because not only are the Sturmita very powerful on their own, those 3 now have Bankais. So, yeah, the captains would get wrecked. So, what I think is going to happen is maybe Kang won't find Toshiro. It's really, really hard to say. If Kang does find Toshiro, he's not going to kill him because it's Toshiro, but they might fight for a while. I think there's a possibility of Isin coming in to save Toshiro and fighting Kang. Because that would work if you think about it, because obviously Engetsu is fire, Kang's Bankai is now ice. So Isin probably could take a victory there. And I'd be fine with that. I really like Kang-Do. He's my second favourite Sturmita, and I will rage if he is killed by Toshiro. If he's killed by Isin, that's cool, that's fine. That'd be awesome, as long as he gets a good fight. Obviously now on another captain, Komamura. Komamura versus Bambietta. He actually stood up to her fairly well, but she never used Kokujo Tengen Myo against him. Now, obviously, Kokujo Tengen Myo is not a very good Bankai. There is obviously the fact that if she used it, Komamura would be very aware of the fact that Kokujo Tengen Myo has the link weakness, so he could attack it anywhere and she would get hurt. Whether if she was using her Bankai and had Bloop Vein going, it would still hurt her, I don't know. We don't know enough yet. Now, about Komamura's secret technique he's going to learn, it's really hard to say what it's going to be. If I had to predict, I would say he can turn into some hulking great wolf like his grandfather dog thing. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. And the thing is, I really want Komamura to beat Bambietta. 1, because I don't like Bambietta. And 2, because I do like Komamura. And 3, because Komamura has not won enough fights. If Komamura could beat Bambietta, who's a fairly powerful opponent from what we've seen so far, the guy might get a bit of, frankly, deserved respect. Now, we need to see a little bit more of Komamura's fight with his grandfather. How much of this we're going to see, I don't know, because the battle is upon us. We might get like a little bit inside the dome while they're fighting the Quincy, and then it might go outside. We'll learn the stories of the characters outside again, because the majority of them are outside. And there is still training to be done in the Royal Realm. There's no way Kubo can skip Shutara and Ichibe's training. They're like the 2 most interesting ones. So if he skips those 2 in the Royal Realm, people aren't going to be happy. So yeah, Komamura could arrive with his grandpa if he manages to change his mind. But again, it's a tough call to make, because his grandfather, we haven't seen enough of him. The next one is another one who stole a Bankai, Soifon versus Biggie 9. Yeah, Soifon doesn't stand a chance. I mean, I know her Bankai is not very useful, and she does have her Shikai, she does have Suzumibachi. Whether or not Suzumibachi can pierce Bloop Vein, no idea. We don't really know what Biggie 9's capable of either. But again, he does have the Bankai, so really you could say he does just have the advantage in the first place. But Soifon's outside the Seirete at the moment, so Biggie 9's going to have to find another opponent. I don't really know who. Whether they'll just trash the divisions while the captains aren't there, it's kind of hard to say, because obviously Omeda's still inside Soul Society, so he might die. That'd be kind of cool, because no one likes Omeda. But yeah, that's another. I think, because I really think that the captains who've lost their Bankai probably won't win. So Yoruichi might arrive to trash Big E9. It's very hard to say. I think we're in need of a fight where she can at least use her Shikai, so Big E9 might be a good opportunity for that. I think just a random crack fight I've thought of, maybe Shinji versus Askin Naklavar. Purely because if Askin Naklavar's power really is like to warp through dimensions, can you imagine that versus Sakanade? That would be a total mindfuck. I mean, it would completely blow your mind if it was Sakanade versus Askin's dimensions. That'd be crazy. Plus, Askin looks a little bit like a fabulous version of Aizen, so that'd be kind of funny. But yeah, that's really just crack. Rukia and Renji versus Asnot. It's a possibility. The fact of the matter is, there's no way in hell Byakuya is going to be ready to fight Asnot, which I'm very thankful for, because mere hours before the invasion, Byakuya is like, I'm not even strong enough to feel woozy yet. So he's still completely numb from the attack. So he's not fighting Asnot anytime soon, thankfully. Also, I really hope Byakuya has some serious scars on the front, because you didn't see his front. That'd be freaking cool. But yeah, so Renji and Rukia fighting Asnot. We don't know the nature or level of power they're going to gain from the Royal Realm. Will they be strong enough to take on him? It's really hard to say. His fear ability is completely debilitating, completely overpowered. I think it'd be a good fight, though. I think it'd be a good fight to see. Renji will probably have his improved Bankai. Maybe even Rukia will get a Bankai from Ichibe's training. It depends what his training is. But it would really surprise me if, like, the Royal Guard couldn't accelerate Bankai training, because that seems like a relatively... Even Urahara can do it. I mean, I know, I say even Urahara, but I think I'd be surprised if they couldn't. Of course, if Renji and Rukia don't fight Asnot, then I think Renji will fight Master Masculine. Purely because Mask doesn't seem like as powerful as that. Just because he's stupid, I suppose. Just because he's not very clever. And they've kind of got a grudge thing, because obviously Mask broke his Shikai and drop-kicked him across the Sorete. So Mask versus Renji could happen. And it'd be cool to see Renji defeat a powerful opponent, because like I said in my Lieutenant's video, he's not beaten anyone apart from Ilf and Jackie. So yeah, it would be nice to see Renji beat Master Masculine, because Mask's powerful, you know, he's a powerful guy. But I think Renji can take him. Obviously, there's the mysterious Sturmitter who cut Rukia down. We have no idea who it is. It could literally be any of them that we didn't see fight. So, yeah, interesting. Shunsui versus Colonel Sanders. It's probably going to happen again. They were one of the only fights, along with Byakuya and Az, in the original invasion that actually was shown quite a lot. Obviously, Colonel Sanders popping out Shunsui's eye. Shunsui landing a massive cut and a kick on Colonel Sanders. And then Sanders shot him a few times. So I think I'd actually like to see that one happen again, even if I'm pretty certain Shunsui would probably win. The thing is, though, it's really hard to say. Colonel Sanders easily was on par, if not better, than Shunsui when Shunsui was in Shikai. Shunsui can't use Bankai, otherwise Sanders will just capture it. So I have to say I'm very, very excited for these fights. Because, no, it's very hard to predict what's going to happen. And then finally, just a bit of a joke, but it's probably going to happen, I think. Yachiru versus Little Toto Lamperd. She's Stomata G, the little kind of Yachiru-esque one. Bound to happen, I think. That's a matchup I think pretty much guaranteed. Kubo basically created a character who was fit to fight Yachiru. So yeah, I think it's going to happen. Moving on now to unresolved plot points. So what do I think is going to happen here? Let's start off with what I think is one of the biggest plot points in the series, and what I think is frankly worth an arc on its own, even though it's not going to get one. The Spirit King, Reo. What is he? Who is he? We know he's the linchpin, so I presume he's possibly the creator of Soul Society? But it's really hard to say. I know I've said that a lot, but I mean, like, seriously, he's not Shinigami. I think I can safely say that. His eyes make him look not Shinigami. He kind of has like 4 all-seeing pupils, you could say. A lot of people have likened his look to Butterflyzen, which I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. He seems to come out of some kind of chrysalis pod, So it's really difficult to determine what he is. If he's obviously a soul, but what is he? Is he transcendent, or is he something completely different altogether? And, what's his purpose? Because he just kind of seems to sit there. So far, we haven't even really seen much sentient action out of him. Obviously, he was spoken to by his little servant, but he didn't reply. Not that we saw, anyway. And he kind of floated out from behind some curtain. Again, we've not really seen his body much. At all. We've only, seen this section of his face, I think. So, yeah, it's really... He's a complete wild card. Will you half-arc fight him? Maybe. Why does Aizen hate him so much? Who knows? There's a couple of nice theories going around. The reason the Soul Society exists is to give food for the Soul King, he'll eat spirits or something like that. That's kind of cool. Kind of sinister. A lot of people on a lot of forums want to believe the Soul King and the Royal Guard are bad guys. I don't think it's going to happen. Purely because there's not enough time. Unless this final part of this final arc literally is dragged out for 6-7 years, then maybe that could happen, but there'd have to be valid reasons. So far I haven't really seen one. The Royal Guard don't really give off a sinister vibe, in my opinion. Maybe Ichibe a little bit, maybe, and possibly Shutara. But that's it. I don't really get... I mean, they're kind of... Nemaya's a bit of a harsh arsehole. But you've kind of got to be in the Zero Division, I think, because you can't take crap from these lower people. So I don't think really... I don't think they're going to be bad guys. Speaking of the Royal Guard, the second kind of unresolved plot point is what did Shutara and Ichibe create to get into the Royal Guard? Now, when we saw Shutara's we saw a tiny little bit of her in her palace in Renji's flashback. It would appear that she created the Shihakusho, the uniform the Shinigami wear. But that doesn't seem... I mean, it's major. It doesn't seem particularly major, to be in the Royal Guard. So I think she also created the Sutra scale, Shutara scale, that depends on the translation, which is the scale that determines the balance between the worlds, basically. So when lots of Hollows get killed off, and there is a danger to the balance, that's the Sutra scale telling you that. To me, that would imply... That would be good enough reason to be in the Royal Guard. And also, it would imply that she was part of the 12th Division and possibly knew Miuri, because she does know Miuri. So yeah, I think that would work for Shutara. Ichibe Hyosobe, a little bit more difficult to discern. Manga Stream translated him as the Eyeball Monk, but I think a better translation is the Monk of Perception. Now, that, to me, makes me think a couple of things. Could Ichibe have been the first one to look inside his inner world? Maybe. A lot of popular theories is that Ichibe is the first Shinigami. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Now, you have to remember as well that Ichibe's character design is that of a monk. Therefore, he's a spiritual character. So I think looking into his inner world becomes even more possible when you do that. Now, that, in my opinion, would also help with the idea that Ichibe will accelerate Rukia's Bankai training. Because if Ichibe can look into his inner world, absolutely masterfully, then he'll be able to teach Rukia to possibly do the same thing, or at least use that to help Rukia. Ichibe may also be able to converse with his Zanpakuto, perfectly, brilliantly. It's hard to say. I don't really know what else the Monk of Perception could be. It's a difficult one to call that. I have to say that I really love Ichibe, and I love all the Royal Guard. I think they're such interesting characters, and I really can't wait to see more of them. Next is Kukaku's relationship with the Royal Realm. Now, this is interesting. Beforehand, she was, in the Soul Society arc, she was basically just this fireworks expert that didn't really have much of a role, other than the fact that she was part of the fallen Shiba clan. Now, obviously, we know that she knows the Royal Guard because she's the reason they can get back up to the palace via Tenchurin. Which, to me, puts Kukaku suddenly on a higher level of importance. She's also missing her right arm. We already know that Ichibe has said that the Oken is in the bones of their bodies. So, there's a nice theory going around now, after the most recent excerpt of the dagger. It's said that Kukaku has a relationship with the Royal Guard. Was her arm used in the creation of the Oken or something like that? Now, to me, her relationship with the Royal Guard could even be that she was once in the Royal Guard. Maybe she's a Kido expert. Maybe she created Kido. I don't believe that, actually, because she had to chant Hardo 63 Raikaho when she fought Aizen. So that's not gonna be the case. But she could even have been in the Royal Guard purely because she had the means to fire up into the palace. The problem here is she's the younger sister of Cayenne, so that would mean that she was tiny when she was in the Royal Guard. Could happen. It is plausible, I suppose. She could have been like some genius, because obviously Cayenne was a genius. So, I mean, it could happen. Her relationship with the Royal Guard, so far, all we know is that she sends them back up there. Is there more to it? I'd love for there to be. I think she's definitely captain level. You just get that vibe off her, don't you? So, yeah, interesting. Speaking of Shibas, they are currently working with Fullbringers Ninjo Kugo, Tsukishima Shukuro, and Giriko Kutsuzawa. Who will they fight? What will they do? It's hard, really hard call. Now, about Ginjo, I don't really know Giriko. Giriko can fight anyone because he'd probably lose. If someone's going to die, Giriko's probably going to die because Kubo doesn't like him. No one likes him. And yeah, I don't really know why he brought Giriko back. That's kind of weird. But Tsukishima and Ginjo, that's interesting. I'd love to see Tsukishima fight Asnot. Obviously, they have the Byakuya relation. But also the fact that they're both creepy-ass mindfuckers. That'd be so awesome just to see them fighting. Oh, man. And they're two of my favourite characters as well. So yeah, I'd love to see that battle. Ginjo, on the other hand, is a little harder to predict. I'd love to see him teaming up with Ichigo again. Ichigo is obviously the type of character to forgive, because he did posthumously forgave Ginjo. I don't know how he'll feel when he actually sees them. I'm very excited to see Ginjo and Tsukishima again, actually. Obviously, since they're being trained by Kukaku, that's a relation to Ichigo, because they're family. And Ginjo knows stuff about Ishin, so we need to know more about Ginjo, his past, who he is, how he knows Ishin. I really thought Ginjo was going to sharpen everything but the rain, but he didn't. So I'd like to see Ginjo fighting side by side with Ichigo again, because I really like the dynamic, the kind of brotherly dynamic they had when they were, allies. Because obviously Ichigo doesn't have a brother, so that was interesting to me, I thought. Okay, now we'll move to Huaycamundo very briefly. Who are the Arrancar that are with Chad, Orihime, and Urahara? One of them is Grimjo, that's guaranteed, because obviously he's the one who comes into the tent. However, now we have the issue that Grimjo might not be the one who killed Kurge, and it's not a matter of power, because anyone could have killed Kurge in that state. He was holding his body together with Ranso Tengai. But there could have been more than one person there. Now, it's impossible to say. If you think about who's still here, in terms of the Arrancar, we've got Harabel, Grimjo, Loli, Menoli, and the Tre Bestias. Don Chaka, Pesce, Nel, and Ganten Bane, Mosqueda. Now, Ganten Bane's probably going to be there. But my thing is, Kubo's a theatrical man. Ganten Bane is not a big enough character to make such a big deal out of. In my opinion, the only characters that are Espada. So, I think if we're going to go there, Neutra has a chance of coming back, as does Tesla. Orihime could have healed them. Tesla was still alive last we saw him. Even further into crack territory, Stark, Lilanet. The thing is, we know that Orihime went back into Fake Karakura Town to heal Harabel after she was defeated by Aizen. So there's no reason to say she couldn't have healed Stark. Obviously, it's all speculation, but my point stands that Kubo wouldn't make such a big deal out of it if it was just Ganten Bane. I really refuse to believe it. It would just be silly. Because no one cares about Ganten Bane. He's obviously going to be there. Fine, but it's not him. It's not him that Kubo's making a big deal out of. Unless Kubo really, really doesn't think that we've guessed it's Grimjo. Which is silly, because everyone has. But, yeah, whatever. Okay, and the next plot point, Ichigo being forced to stay in the Soul Society and Ichigo's friends. By this I mean Tatsuki, Keigo, Mizuero, all that lot. Will Ichigo be forced to stay in the Soul Society? I think it's a possibility. And I don't think Kubo would have brought it up if it wasn't. That's making something out of nothing, which is frankly bad writing. There's absolutely no way Shinsui would have been like, he might not be able to come back, and here, have these soul tickets if Ichigo was going to be able to come back. I don't think it's going to be as dire as that, but I think Ichigo possibly will end the series as becoming a full-time Soul Reaper. Shinigami, I don't know why I said Soul Reaper. I do see that happening. Possibly Ichigo will be killed. Like, properly killed. Where his Horo can't save him, and then he just becomes a Shinigami anyway. So, yeah, it's hard to know where the series is going to go. Because, like I said, I still think we're quite a way away from the end. So, yeah, and Ichigo's friends... Now, I think the reason they've been given soul tickets already is because they will try and help join the fight. Actually, thinking about it now, something has literally just come to me. If Shinsui is locked out of Soul Society right now, possibly the soul ticket can get him back in. It's a thought. So yeah, that's interesting. And obviously, speaking of the real world, we've got the Vizards in there. Hiyori, Love, Hachi, Lisa. Might be it. But they are currently patching up the distortion between worlds. I still firmly believe the Vandenreich will probably eventually send Soldat and some Stoneritters to the human world because they want to take over everything. You know, Yuharvark says, I'm going to regain the world. This leads into a crack theory of mine later. But, yeah, I think I'd be very surprised if they didn't join the fight somehow. The Vizards are obviously going to join the fight because we need to know Love's Bankai and just stuff like that. So, yeah, they're going to fight somehow. Whether they'll be defending the human world or whether they'll get in the Soul Society somehow, it's hard to say. So, moving back to Soul Society now. Just moving the laptop a little bit because my legs are starting to hurt really badly. Yeah, moving back to Soul Society, Kenpachi, Zaraki, and Unohana Retsu. Currently in Muken, obviously. Unohana, is she dead? I hope not. She's actually one of the good guys I hope hasn't been killed. Because there's so much potential there. And we've seen how crazy she is. It would be a complete jip if you didn't go mental or some Sternritter. And let's face it, her Bankai, Minazuki, was very poorly shown, so a fight against a Sternritter would give ample opportunity for her to show it properly. I think she could be alive. I think if anyone has died, it's the Yachiru persona, because now she's been able to pass on the title of Kenpachi. I think basically her death was one big metaphor. I think Yachiru is dead, Retsu is alive, and that's the position she's going to take from now on. No more guilt, no more feeling bad about stopping Kenpachi's power, because he's strong again now. So, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I'd be surprised if it didn't. If she's actually dead, then that kind of sucks. As for Kenpachi, I don't think we'll see his Bankai, because it just doesn't make sense. No way could he have learned Bankai in a few days. I think we'll possibly see a true Shikai from him, because obviously he's in constant Shikai, but like Ichigo, I think he'll have a better version. Because otherwise there'd be no point in him knowing his name, if there's nothing to show for it. Because, you've got to have aesthetics as well. Okay, this is a fairly large point. Isin Sosuke Aizen, currently imprisoned in Muken as well. It'd be kind of interesting if Unohana and Kenpachi went to visit him, but it won't happen. I think if anyone goes to visit Aizen to recruit him, it'll be Urahara. Possibly an Ichigo as well. Aizen is a war potential, according to the dagger. It was a bit hard to work out if he was or if Yuharvark wanted him to be, but he is, apparently. Probably because of his immortality, and there was a little bit of confusion as to what actually happened to Aizen. All that happened was he lost his Hogyoku transformations. He still has his power. He doesn't have Kyokusui Getsu, but he has been on his own for 2 years. He's also an immeasurably powerful Shinigami, so I'd be very surprised if he hadn't begun to get Kyokusui Getsu back again. Aizen clearly doesn't want to work with Yuharvark. Clearly doesn't want to work with the Quincy, he doesn't want to work with the humans. Does he want to work with Soul Society? Probably not. However, I think if anything is going to happen, Aizen will work with them only to betray them later on, when they get a bit closer to working with the Soul King. I think that's the only thing that's going to happen with Aizen. Will he be the final villain? A lot of people have said this. I do think he needs a proper final fight, where he uses his Bankai and just goes all out on Ichigo. It would be awesome. So they could be the final battle. I'd have no qualms with that, because I love Aizen. But obviously they have to deal with Vandenreich first. So yeah, I think I can see Aizen coming to help, and then just because he doesn't want Soul Society to be destroyed. It's a simple fact as that. He wants to rule Soul Society and not destroy it. That's why he spared the lives of all the captains he fought. So yeah, I don't think Aizen would come back necessarily as a villain straight away. Yharvark's history with Yama. Not a huge amount to say here at the moment because we just simply don't know it. Obviously, 1,000 years ago, the Quincy were prevalent. Maybe 1,000 years ago, that was when Yharvark was the progenitor. That's when he created the Quincy clan to challenge the Shinigamis. I don't know. I have another crack theory on this later. I do think we'll get a flashback. Now, apparently, when we return next week to the series, we're entering something called the separation story. This could mean a lot of things. It could mean the separation of the Soul Society from everything else, since it's now been apparently sealed off. But it could also mean the separation of Shinigami and Quincy, like their history, their past. That'd be interesting if we went back into a little flashback. It might not happen. It might happen. But if that is what it is, then that's when we'll see their history together. So that'd be interesting to see. History of Vandenreich. Now this is interesting. The Vandenreich, I don't think existed 1,000 years ago. I don't think they even existed 200 years ago. I think they existed just after the Quincy were exterminated. So I think what we're seeing here, the Sternritter, are possibly survivors of the annihilation, and they've created some technology. Because the dagger says that the survivors of the extinction created technology that we see today. So they must have built the Bankai stealing medallions, because I presume the Shinigami used Bankai in droves against the Quincy in the Annihilation, which is another thing I'd like to see in a flashback. And they might have created Blue Vein, Blue Artery, because obviously Yharvark was still sealed at this point from his battle 1,000 years ago. So maybe people like Az, Kang, all that lot somehow prolonged their life from 200 years ago, waiting for the time when their legend, the Sealed King, would be unleashed and they could attack Soul Society again. I think that's probably what happened. As for where they're staying, the Schattenbayreich we know nothing about. So again, this is why I can't see the series ending any time soon. It could be in the Dangai somewhere, because Ishin does say the Dangai used to be a penal colony, so possibly some survivors were used in the penal colony, so they could have built the Schattenbayreich there. Or it could be in Garganta, it could be anywhere really. So yeah, I think the history of Vandenreich is something we need to know. Yeah, that'd be very cool. The first divisions, the first Gote divisions that we see Yama with some shadowy people, when Yharvark says you guys were beasts, you defeated the Quincy because you were monsters. However, after you defeated the Quincy, you became soft. So, whether we will actually see these guys, it's hard to say. I think there are some we can guarantee who are in there, though. Yama and Unohana, they're the only two we know for certain. 1st Division and 11th Division. I think Korinji Tenjiro was 4th Squad. Ichibei Hyosabe could have been anything, but I personally want to put my money on him being 5th Squad. Oretsu Nimaya is probably there as well. I want to put my money on, I don't know why, 3rd, something like that. Senjumaru Shooter are probably 12, but probably very young at the time. And then I think Kiryu Hikifune must have taken over after her. And after that, it gets a bit wild. If you leave a little bit of time after Yama and the Fire God issue when he defeated, well, you presume he defeated Yharvark, and that painting on his wall, if you leave a little bit of time after that, Shinsui could have become a captain, and Ukitake, the first captains out of Yamamoto's Shino Academy. I think there's probably a Shihoin ancestor in there. I had a random crack idea that the captain of the 6th Division would be Sujishiro Kuromon III. He's a noble who eventually was the weaver of the Kuchiki family's scarves. That'd be kind of cool, I think. But yeah, it's really hard to say. I think Komamura's grandfather could have been in there. I know that now he's no longer anthropomorphic, but I think he could have been at some point, and then he eventually regressed back. And for some whatever reason, his clan lost the ways of like walking like Shinigami and being like that. So I think that could possibly have happened. Whether it's anything, whether we'll ever find out the truth behind the 1st Divisions, I don't know. I hope we do, but it's kind of hard to say. Uryu's motives and actions. Yeah, leading the new era of Quincy after the defeat of the Vandenreich. Uryu's not going to die. I don't think he's going to die. I think Kubo's doing something quite clever here. Yaharvark is obviously building Uryu up to be his successor. But I think from what Hashval says, Yaharvark's not serious. Like, he hasn't got any plans to die anytime soon. But what this is saying is that Uryu is probably going to eventually develop some serious leadership qualities. I can imagine there probably being some skirmishes in the Sturmritter over this. There already have been. But I imagine some of the more hot-headed ones like Baz will confront Uryu about it. And we'll start seeing that he has these leadership qualities. Because I think the majority of the fan base don't want the Quincy to die out after this battle. Because I would personally like it if the Quincy weren't represented by the Vandenreich, but the Vandenreich are like some extremist group. I think Soken's dream has to come true. That's the ideal ending for the series. Because it's been foreshadowed. He wants Shinigami and Quincy to work in harmony together. So once this ultimate final battle is gone, once the bad blood is wiped away with the death of Yaharvark, I can see Uryu and possibly Hashwolf leading a new era of Quincy. No more Vandenreich, no more Sturmritter, but a new era of Quincy where they work together with the Shinigami. And I think this will possibly be linked by Ichigo, who is obviously Shinigami and Quincy. So I can really see that happening. The legacy of Masaki and Ishin, the first two people to fall in love like that. I can see it happening, really can see it happening. After the death of Yaharvark and the eradication of Vandenreich and its kind of racist ideologies, I can see the two coming together. Under Uryu's leadership of the Quincy, whether Ichigo will lead the Shinigami, probably not going to happen, I shouldn't think. In fact, Uryu might not lead the Quincy, it might be Hashwolf, he might kind of take the responsibility. I don't know why, I can't see Hashwolf dying. But yeah. Anyway, some predictions on the Sturmritter's letters and epithets. So we know a lot of the letters now, but what the hell they are, it's really hard to say. So if we go with A, because you've got A, obviously Uryu, he could be anything. If you want to go bog standard, he could be Uryu the Arrow. Could be. Hashwolf could be the Blade, because we did see that he shattered Ichigo's Bankai with his own cruciform sword, which looks awesome. Askin Naklavar, I'm pretty certain actually on this one. D, the Dimension. I think that's pretty much what it's going to be, because he used dimensions to kind of capture Baz and Hashwolf's attention, didn't he? So yeah, I think that's going to happen. Bambietta E, absolutely no idea. The Erotic, after what she did with that guy, could be the Energy, the Electric. She could literally be anything. She's really hard to call. Lil Toto Lamper, G, again, we don't know anything about her, can't really call it. H, Bazby, now this is interesting. He could be the Heat, because he's hot-headed, he could be fiery, he could be the Hate, he could be the Hair, I mean, have you seen that mohawk? Again, it's hard to call a lot of these Sturmritter epithets, because Kubo seems to pull them out the left field a lot of the time. Obviously, you've got Kangdu, whose eye could be anything, could be the Ice, probably not though, because he's already got an Ice Bankai. The Intoxication, the Invisible. Just hit the camera. So yeah, in fact, it's just very hard to call them. Master Masculine, S, the Strength. Nanananaj could be the U, the Undying. I mean, they could be anything. I think Candice Catnip, T, is probably the Thunder, because she has little lightning bolt shaped hair things. That's possibly one of the easier ones. If you want my prediction on something like Z, Giselle Jewel, I think she'll be something like the Zone. And a zone around her all the time, like a radius, kind of activates like a Sprenger. But yeah, it's very hard to call them. So let me know in the comments below what you think the Sturmritter's epithets could be, and what do you think the Sturmritter whose letters we don't know yet are. The black guy with the eye staff could be M for the mind, because I believe he's the mind controlling guy. Do we have a P yet? Yes, we do. Menenus McAllon is P, isn't she? Oh, I hate that character so much. But yeah, it could be the mind. Colonel Sanders could be C. I don't know why, though, the Colonel. I don't know why. The crack shot, maybe, because he's pretty good at shooting. He shot the messenger bloke behind him without even looking. We've also got Shaz Domino, who seems to have disappeared completely from the manga after only being in it in 2 panels. But he was using daggers, and he was like, the power His Majesty bestowed upon me was He's another really hard one to call. He could be VWX, something like that. Yeah. Shaz could be the Vision, maybe. He's able to score direct hits. I don't know, it's hard. It's really hard. So let me know what you think in the comments below as to the epithets of the Sturmitter. A bit of a smaller section now. Who's going to lose their Bankai in the next fight? Because it's guaranteed that some will. Kensei, he'll lose Teken Tachikase, I think. The reason I think that's going to happen is because when he's training Hisagi, he says to Hisagi, I'd managed to not lose my Bankai this time, but next time it's pretty much going to happen. So he's obviously going to feel he's going to need to use Bankai, and he's going to lose it. We have also already seen Teken Tachikase, so it wouldn't be too big a loss for it to get stolen. And I also think Miyuri's going to lose his, because I think Miyuri's going to die. I think Miyuri's probably going to lose Konjiki Ashishogi-G's. I just think it's going to happen. Because, like I said already, we've seen it plenty of times, so there's no reason why someone can't take it. Possibly the Mind, that puppeteer guy. But yeah, that's probably, at the moment, all I think is going to lose their Bankai. I mean, I can't think of anyone else, unless one of the Royal Guard loses it or something like that. But yeah. Anyway, onto a crack theory of mine. A prediction, if you will, as to the history of everything. Now, why were the Schattenbayreich able to just replace the Soul Society like that? What if it's like two sides of a coin? What if Seirete was always like that, Schattenbayreich was always like that, and you can flip them? Because the Quincy used shadows to move around in. And like the shadow of Seirete seemed to come up through it and turn it into the Schattenbayreich. Now, if the Quincy have always been in the Shinigami shadow, and there's kind of evidence for this, there's a chapter cover at one point with Ichigo running and Uryu kind of like running as his shadow. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. We also have to take into account what Yaharvark said about reclaiming his world. Did the Quincy used to run Soul Society before the Shinigami came in? If you think about it, the Quincy could have done that. They could have been blowing apart the Hollows, and you had to have someone new step in, otherwise they'd destroyed everything. That's when Yamamoto appeared with his divisions and they destroyed the Quincy 1,000 years ago, then did it again 800 years later. I don't see any reason why that couldn't be the case, why the Quincy couldn't have been there first, why the Quincy couldn't have been the original people to be in the Seirete. It'd be a complete mindfuck, but I don't see any reason why it can't be true. So yeah, that's kind of my crack theory, that the Quincy were there first, and because Kubo said in an interview that the Quincy their palace is close, but not in like Huecamundo or anywhere else, so the shadow, it could be like a, what's it called? It could be a riddle, yeah, a riddle, that's what I was looking for. But yeah, that's kind of my crack theory. Moving on to the final part of this video, and I think, God, we're almost 50 minutes in. So if you stuck with it this far, thanks very much. Deaths in the final battle. Who do I think is going to die? So let's start with most of the Sturmitter, because they're evil, and you need them to die because that would get rid of the bad blood, that would get rid of the racism, and frankly, that would allow for a new era of Quincy. Uryu won't die. Hashvolf, I don't think, will die. Yaharvark's guaranteed. The crazy-ass Sturmitter like Asnot are guaranteed to die. Baz is probably going to die. Kang will probably die. Biggie 9, Mask, all of that lot will probably die. I hope Bambietta dies, but Kubo's relatively nice to his women a lot of the time. I think Saruchi Thunderwitch is about one of the only girls to die in the series. But, you know, it's the final arc, so he might change things up a bit. I think if Berenice Gabrielli was a girl, then she died. So, yeah, I think Bambietta might die. I think her little 4 cronies might die, because they're very fodderish. Obviously, we haven't even seen every Sturmitter yet. There's about maybe 2, I think it is, or 3 that we haven't seen. So there could be a female there that Kubo will spare. I think Hashwolf's maid should be a Sturmitter, and he could spare her, because she and Hashwolf could then lead the Quincy together. That'd be kind of cool. And I think the hooded Quincy, the one that you only see like that much of in 494, could be Ryuken's mum. So she might be in it, and we already know that she's racist. So yeah, she'd fit nicely into the Sturmitter. So yeah, I think most of them will die. Miyuri Kurotsuchi has his days numbered, I think. The enemy are the Quincy, and we know he brutally experimented on many Quincy, dissecting them. His days are numbered. If he doesn't get what's coming to him, then it'll be an injustice, I think. Uryu may even be forced to kill Miuri as an act of loyalty, something that I don't think he'd particularly even mind doing that much, although I do think they've warmed to each other about as much as you possibly could warm to someone like that. But yeah, I can see Uryu I can see it being like a reenactment of how they fought in Soul Society, but Uryu actually killing him off this time. I can see that happening. The thing is, the reason I believe Akon has been getting so much screen time in this arc so far is to prepare us for when he finally becomes captain of the 12th Division, because I think Miuri's going to die, and I think Akon is the perfect replacement for him. So yeah, I think that's kind of what's been going on. I also think, unfortunately, I think Komamura's days are numbered as well. Kubo likes the character. I'm fairly sure he likes the character, but he always uses Komamura as an example of how powerful the enemy are. Whether that might change this arc or not, who can say? But I think Komamura is definitely online for the chopping board as far as captains go. One of the Royal Guard, I think that's guaranteed to happen, because we don't know them that well, we're not that attached to them, and I just think Kubo, if he really wanted to show the power of like Yaharvark, he'd have him kill one of the Royal Guards. Who? Probably not Kiryu. I think if anyone, it would either be Oetsu or Ichibei. So yeah, I can definitely see that happening. Definitely see one of them dying. Perhaps another lieutenant or two. If it's going to be another lieutenant or two, that it wouldn't be anyone like Hisagi or Renji or Rukia. It would be someone like Iba, someone like Omeda, someone you don't really care about that much. I mean, Kira, people care about Kira, so he's not going to destroy another lieutenant that people care about. If he does, it'll be crazy. I'll be like, whoa, what? One of the Fullbringers I think is going to die. I mean, I think Giriko's probably going to die. The problem with one of the Fullbringers dying, in my opinion, is that they've already died once. So that would be kind of weird. Unless it's one of the Fullbringers in the human world, like Ruruka, Yukio, or Mo. Mo might die, and then he'll be able to join Tsukishima in the Soul Society. They'll be happy forever after. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I think one of them might die. And then some of the Aranka. Grunjo's probably not going to die, but he might do. It's hard to say. The thing is, it'd be weird if Kubo killed off someone like Neutro and Tesla, because as I said, we've already seen them die. So yeah, it'd just be a bit weird, I think. But anyway, guys, that is the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, the Millennium Blood War Predictions 3. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you sat with it. If you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments below. I'll be delighted to hear it. But really, that's it for me, guys. Next week, obviously, I'll do the roundup of the daggers and my final few list videos, and then finally the chapters are back. So yeah, I will catch you for a review of Bleach 547, hopefully pretty soon. Until then, guys, see you later.